Hi, it's Alan Mendelson. I'm back with Martha Patterson, elder law mom. And you've seen her before on my various TV broadcasts. We talk about wills and trusts, estate planning, elder care, elder abuse. And we've also been talking about problems with dementia and Alzheimer's. And Martha has told me something which is shocking and worth repeating, and that is about the dementia crisis, an epidemic in the state of California. Tell us again, what's the numbers?
According to the Alzheimer's Association, 1 out of 5 people in California live with Alzheimer's or dementia.
That's 20%.
Yeah.
1 out of 5, 20% of what? We got like 18 million people living in California?
Yeah, it's a lot of people and a lot of families affected. So if 1 out of 5 people have dementia and Alzheimer's, probably almost every family to some extent or another is being impacted by Alzheimer's or dementia.
So we're talking about, I'm going to say, a couple of million people living with Alzheimer's. And how many beds do we have for caring for these people?
There are really very few skilled nursing home beds, the ones that would be covered by Medi-Cal or Medicare, that actually have any memory care, anything for somebody with dementia. It's almost like dementia isn't really a disease.
It's a disease, but not considered a disease because there's no medical care for it.
Correct. There's nothing a doctor can do to treat it or cure it. So there's not a lot of money that goes with dementia, and nobody, there really aren't very many there aren't programs to pay for the care somebody with memory needs. The bathing, the dressing, the behavioral care, the helping them get their meals. That kind of care is not paid for by anybody. Really.
Are there estimates as to how much this type of care costs? I mean, I know there are figures for nursing home care, and because you can survey the nursing homes, you can find out what skilled nursing home care costs. But for this type of memory care, and because it's not really institutionalized yet, are there estimates for what it can cost a family?
I don't know that. Well, it's probably easily, since for most people who need care, it's a 24/7 job. But if you take that maybe a caregiver job, 24/7 care in the home is $36,000 a month. $26,000 to $36,000 a month if you pay for a caregiver. So if you imagine the unpaid caregivers, the family caregivers who are giving up jobs, maybe taking jobs, the impact on most families is probably easily $100,000 a year on an average family, just by what they're sacrificing. Somebody doesn't take a promotion because they have to help mom take care of dad, or dad take care of mom. All of the things that go.
Or they give up a job.
They give up a job. They don't go back to work during COVID because they're helping mom as a paid or unpaid caregiver, but they're usually giving up wages that they could have gotten, and their, a lot of times their livelihood and their careers.
So you're helping families deal with this financial structure because there really isn't something like skilled nursing home care that's government funded or government assisted to help these people.
Yeah, so I help them figure out how we can, make their budget work and how we can expand the money. And the first thing, of course, we do is we make sure that we get your legal documents in order before somebody becomes unable to sign their own checks or pay their bills.
So there are legal forms and legal obligations you take care of when you first get a diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's, because you've got to take care of these things.
Right, because we know with Alzheimer's, we know with dementia, we know that it is going to progress to the day when somebody no longer can sign their name, they no longer can remember to pay their bills. It will go there. It's guaranteed to go there.
All right, so what type of legal documents should families be setting up with an attorney, because I'm sure you don't want to set these things up on your own, because they've got to be legally binding and they've got to be done correctly and properly.
Yeah, and not only, yes, you need an attorney, and you often need an attorney who understands elder law and the aging progress and understands dementia, because you need healthcare directives. Everybody on their 18th birthday needs an advanced healthcare directive, because your mother can no longer make decisions for you on your 18th birthday, no matter who you are, no matter if you're, developmentally disabled and are a 3-year-old in an 18-year-old body. It doesn't matter. Your mother can no longer make your decisions on your 18th birthday. You're legally an adult. So we need those healthcare directives, because we remember those stories you've heard on the news about the gal who, was following the balloon, and her parents thought she was living and her husband thought she wasn't. And do we continue to keep somebody alive on machines? Do we not? That's an important. Those are important decisions.
That's in a healthcare directive.
That's in a healthcare directive.
So for a dementia patient, the family needs a healthcare directive.
They need the healthcare directive to make those healthcare decisions for them. Do we, what do we do? Do we treat the pneumonia? And even the simplest of decisions, they're losing the ability to make. So we need the healthcare directive. So we need the healthcare directive to make those healthcare decisions for you when you're unable.
What else do we need? Other financial documents, legal documents?
You need a power of attorney to handle your day-to-day bank accounts. But power of attorney are great, but they die when you die, so they don't live on.
Well, let's clarify that. Power of attorney doesn't mean the attorney does things, but it could be another family member does things.
Correct.
So it's really a misnomer, power of attorney. It's designating someone else to have the power and the ability to do certain things for you.
Right. You're designating a power of attorney gives another person the right to make decisions for you. They're not the right to make decisions for you. Does not mean they get to override your decisions, but sometimes they do. So a power of attorney, it's an important legal document, but it's also a blessing, but in the wrong hands, it's a power to steal. So a power of attorney is a great document that helps somebody take over your finances, but you need to work with an attorney who can help you make sure that you're giving it to somebody who actually can be trusted.
I remember watching the Rocky movie where he signed a power of attorney, didn't realize it, lost everything, including his mansion, right? Remember when Sylvester Stallone did that?
Yeah.
So you need a lawyer to carefully craft a power of attorney to make sure it's being taken care of legally and honestly.
Well, legally. So the legal document may look, simple, and there's forms and you can get them all over the place for free on the internet. The problem is you need somebody who's going to advise you on who to trust. So I'll pick on an elderly lady who I actually was talking to and she was about to hand it over her power of attorney. She somehow had seen me, I think, on one of your TV shows. This guy's been asking me to give me power of attorney. I'm saying, well, who is he? Well, he's a financial advisor. Probably not, because good financial advisors would never ask to become your agent. I think he was a scam artist. So you need somebody who's going to make sure that when you're making a decision, you are picking somebody who's trustworthy and who actually knows what to listen for. So that is a skill set that attorneys, particularly elder law attorneys, spend a lot of times training themselves to watch for what I call the red flags of, wait a second, this lady has had her whole life, her daughter's been taking care of her, and she said her son has now come back into her life, and he was in prison for 10 years, and now he wants to be power of attorney. Now you're laughing like that doesn't happen, but it does happen. And maybe they haven't been in prison, but maybe they haven't held a job for a lot of years. They've been living homeless, and they come back to live with mom, and hey mom, I'll be your power of attorney, and now they're stealing. Sadly, kids steal often from their parents.
Okay, any other financial documents or legal documents that you need?
You need a trust, and you want a trust, but
Now tell us what the trust is, because we know what a will is.
Yeah.
Will means when after you kick the bucket, it's where your stuff goes.
Right.
What's a trust?
So a trust is a document that is designed, we often call them a living trust, it's designed to avoid probate because it lives on past you and it can take care of you when you're alive or when you're dead. So a trust kind of works, well, I always say it works like a wagon. It is a document designed to hold your property and designed to designate somebody who can tell what happens to your toys when you're alive or dead. So in the trust I create, I have instructions for when I'm living and I have instructions when I'm dead, and they're not the same. Because when I'm living, I want you to spend all my money on me, and I don't want to have any of it when I die. I want to spend all my money before I die. But when I'm dead, if I die and I have money, I want it just to go to my 2 kids, and that they can do whatever they want with their money. But that's what a trust is designed to do.
Let's use your analogy again. A trust is like a wagon that you put your assets into.
Correct.
It's no good having just a wagon unless you remember to put your assets into the wagon.
Correct.
And that's a problem, I'm guessing, that some people forget to put their assets into the wagon, or after they set up the wagon with the first set of assets, they might get additional assets that they forget to put into the wagon also.
Yeah, I end up in probate court all the time. People, the house, they refinance it. When you refinance it for reasons which are complicated, almost every finance company will take it out of your trust, the one you created, and put it in your own name and then finance it.
Whoa, I never heard that before. So if you put your home into your trust when you set up your trust, but years later you get a new mortgage,
Yeah.
your house comes out of your trust and you have to put it back into your trust?
Correct.
And people don't know to do that?
Of course, people don't know to do that. Nobody tells them to do that. Now, some of the mortgage companies have gotten smart and they do the right thing and they do that. But a lot of them don't. And so we have, I'll have people come to my office. My mom and dad have a trust, and we have it in escrow, and we just found out it's mom died 10 years ago or dad died 10 years ago, and it's still in mom and dad's name. What do? We want escrow to close tomorrow. Sorry, it's in their name. It's not in their trust. It's outside the wagon, and they're dead, so they can't sign. You can't sign as trustee because it's not in the wagon, so we have to go to probate court. And unfortunately,
Wow.
Probate court doesn't go, oh, escrow's supposed to close tomorrow. I'm not able to just run into the judge and say, here, please sign this order. It's going to take several months to get that order processed.
The other thing you once told me is that having a will not keep your estate out of probate.
No, it won't. Because if you have more than about $170,000, then
in total assets,
you end up in probate court. Because
even with a will.
Because
and the problem with probate is
it's expensive. I mean, I love getting probates because I get paid a lot of money. But most families don't like paying me that money and would rather avoid probate. And it's, really expensive. And since the most, people die all the time, they think, well, I have a will, and then they have a house, and now I get probate. So
it's better to pay for a trust first to avoid the delays of probate and the costs of probate.
Correct.
And there's a big difference in cost, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, so right now, when I did the math years ago for my seminars, I was doing it, an average cost of a house is $600,000. It was going to be a $17,000 fee. Now we're talking $1 million fee, and I think
$1 million house.
$1 million house. My fee is going to be about, I think it's 16 plus 7, so 16 plus 7, $23,000.
And that's for probate.
That's just for my lawyer fee. Your executor can get $23,000, plus then the court's going to want your money.
That's for probate.
That's for probate.
The trust costs how much?
Usually, I do sophisticated trust. So my basic trust right now is about $4,000. because I'm,
You're talking about a difference maybe of $50,000.
Yeah, big difference. I mean,
Wow, that's amazing.
it's amazing. And, people get those discount trusts. Well, they come into my office and they're the ones that nothing is in their trust.
What about their discount wills? You can sign up for a will. I see TV commercials for it all the time. Basic will, $29.95, $49.95. Not good.
No, somebody's probably building up a nice database of people who are gonna, they're gonna get for probate clients. Okay, the cynic in me is coming out, but really, I mean, if
So I love cynical interviews.
yeah, I mean, really, if I'm doing a lot of wills, I'm just hoping to get all those probates, because, yeah, I occasionally have, darling people who really don't have much money who come to my office, and I will do a will for them. But, for the most part, we want to avoid probate. And there's some simple ways to avoid probate when you don't have much money.
I want to ask you about another misleading commercial in a minute, but first give us your contact information. It's also in the description under this video, but give us your contact information now.
So I'm the Elder Law Mom, and you can find me at elderlawmom.com. So remember, I'm an elder law attorney and a mom, and my phone number is 866-452-9657.
Repeat the number for us.
866-452-9657.
Let me talk to you about the other misleading commercial. We see it all the time on TV. Reverse mortgages. How do you describe reverse mortgages?
A blessing or a curse.
A blessing or a curse. The blessing is, like the commercial says, you can get money now to pay off your credit cards, take the world tour, pay for the kids and the grandkids to go to college. But the curse is the money's got to be paid back.
Right.
And talk about the problem when you have to pay back the money. The fine print of the reverse mortgage deal is that if you're out of the home for X number of days or months or weeks, then the loan has to be repaid. Talk about that fine print.
So the fine print says if you are out of the home for a year.
1 year.
1 year. You have to be out. And guess what they do check? They send every year, they send a letter to you making you certify that you're still living in the home. But if they somehow suspect that you're not living in the home, and I don't know how they figure these things out, but they do seem to figure out that people are not living in the home. They do drive-bys, they do checking. They say, hey, we've discovered your mom is living at Shady Acres Care Home, and she's not in her home. Please pay up.
So after 1 year that you're not living in your home, you've got to pay back the reverse mortgage. If you're in a nursing home or a retirement home or a memory care home, you're going to get socked with paying back that loan.
Yep.
Big time.
You're going to get socked with taking back the home. You either pay it back or you sell the home, and
Well, some people may have to sell the home in order to pay back the loan.
Yeah, most people
Because
do.
when they're elderly and retired and taking that money out on a reverse mortgage, chances are they don't have jobs anymore.
Right. Once you move to Shady Acres home, all your money is going to go to pay for your assisted living, your memory care. Even if you're on Medi-Cal in a skilled nursing home, they want you to pay part of the bill. So they don't let you keep all your income. They want you to pay your part of the bill. So there are no places that you get to live in for free and keep all your money.
So let's talk some more about that curse. You've got to pay back the money you borrowed. The problem is, unlike a regular mortgage where you're making payments every month and you're paying down the principal, with a reversible mortgage, you're not making any payments to pay down the principal, and just the opposite happens. The principal increases.
Correct, it goes up.
So it starts at $100,000, but after 12 years, it might be $200,000 that you owe.
Correct. Yeah, it's going to keep going up.
And that's the big shock. So people either lose their home if they're lucky enough to still be alive but in a nursing home, or the heirs find out the home no longer has $800,000 or $900,000 of equity because the principal amount on the reversible mortgage has gone up and up and up.
Correct. And so a lot of times, it'll be, a mom and dad got a reverse mortgage, and a lot of times they use it for good things. They're not using it to travel around the world. They actually paid off their existing mortgage and maybe paid for home care, or just, it helped them, live longer at home. Now that reverse mortgage over the years goes up, and the longer you have it, the more, it keeps accumulating. And so there's not a lot of times there's not a lot of equity. And
people don't know this because the TV commercials don't tell you.
No, they don't.
So what do you tell your clients when they come to you and ask you about a reverse mortgage? What do you tell them?
I say, well, first of all, I say, now you have to understand that reverse mortgage, when you borrow the money, it's going to keep going up.
So meaning the balance is going to keep going up on the loan.
The balance is going to keep going up. So now, if you're borrowing $100,000, it's going to, in 12 years, under the rule of 72 at 6% interest, it's going to double to $200,000. Now it's going up. And they'll actually have that in the fine print on the loan. Look, this is how much you would owe in this many years. Okay, it's going to go up. Is this a good idea? Plus, there, those fees and costs they talk about every time you get a mortgage, those are going to be, those are added on. That $100,000 you borrow automatically. It's about $24,000 right now to get a reverse mortgage and fees and costs. So that's going to, that's already added on day one.
Whoa, say that again, $24,000 what?
Those fees and costs, every time you get a mortgage, they have those cute fees and costs and all those, points and all that.
I never heard this figure before about $24,000. Explain that one to me.
It's the, those, when you get a mortgage, they have the title and your fees and your costs, and you have to pay, they make sure you have the insurance, the mortgage insurance to cover them if you don't pay, and all those costs. It's about $24,000.
It costs that much to get a mortgage in addition to the actual mortgage?
Yeah, every mortgage you get. So if, when...
That's not advertised.
Well, it's not advertised in any mortgage. They'll, when loans were really low, you'd hear, it's 1.9% APR. Well, the loan percentage might be less, but that APR is coming in as all the extra costs. So, and some mortgages cost more than others, so they advertise a rate. But
do reverse mortgages, do they cost more than traditional mortgages?
The interest rate is typically a little bit higher than a traditional mortgage because they're not getting their money. They're waiting on their money, so they typically are charging you more because they're not going to get the interest until you either move out of the house because you're forced to or you die. So they usually charge a little bit more. They're usually a little bit higher interest. Of course, the qualifications are very low. You basically only need to have enough money to pay your property taxes and the insurance.
So they're taking a bigger chance and they're deferring their income. I'm referring to the mortgage company,
right.
But you've got to pay for that. You're paying for that privilege of paying back your loan later.
Correct.
And it's an expensive loan, and the fees are higher, and the interest rate is higher. And if you have to move out, you're going to get hit with all those costs at probably the worst time of your life, when you no longer can care for yourself, and you got to go into a nursing home, or you have to go into a memory care home.
Right. Yeah. So it's an assessment. So a lot of times, I'm helping a family assess: is staying home really going to be the best option? I know everybody wants to stay at home. Everybody wants to be cared at home, but we have to look at, assuming we're not paying professional caregivers to care, what is the cost to our family? What is the cost to ourselves? Is staying home really a good option? Do we want to sell the home earlier and move earlier into a community, maybe a home more designed for somebody who's elderly?
And someone who's elderly might want to move down, but if they have a reverse mortgage, they've got to pay off the reverse mortgage plus the accumulated interest, which will cut into their equity that they could have used to buy something to move down into.
Right, yeah, when they're selling the big house, you've raised your kids and you had that big house with the pool in the backyard and all that great thing, and now you don't want to care for it. You've got a reverse mortgage, and 2 or 3 years down the line, you realize you can't take care of the home. Now you've spent money you now don't have because you borrowed it, and now you have to pay it back, so you don't have that money to move down. So, all of these things. Yes, have I recommended reverse mortgages? Absolutely. I had a client, she was relatively healthy. We used a reverse mortgage, paid off her what I call an earthquake loan that she had that was pretty high interest. And she had significant dental work that was about $30,000. We were able to do that. She had very low income. So once we got rid of those loans and her dental work, she stayed in her home for 10, 15 years. Yes, it did double, and everybody understood it was going to double.
Meaning the balance of the loan was going to double.
The balance of the loan doubled. When she now needed care, we had calculated in her joy and being able to stay at home. We knew the cost. We had calculated it. For her, it was a great decision. We borrowed as little as she needed to take care of what she needed, and it enabled her to stay at home 10 years. And we still had some equity, not as much as we would have to move out, but we were also planning what are we going to do? What's her next step when her health starts failing? We figured, we kind of estimated we had 10 or 15 years before her arthritis would get to the point where she would need to be in assisted living. She didn't have much of a history of Alzheimer's. She seemed very sharp for 80, so we kind of, you always take a little bit of gamble, but it was a calculated gamble.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. You did a lot of careful calculations and estimates before you jumped into a reverse mortgage.
Yeah, and it was a good choice for her. And we sold her home and moved to assisted living.
But you got to be careful.
But you got to really be careful. You really got to think of it. I had a lady who, she just turned 62 and she wanted to do that world trip. And I'm going, no, you don't want to do that. You're going to waste all your money at 62. And when you're 72 or 82 and you need care, now you're not going to have anything. And you took that great trip around the world and maybe you enjoyed it. But now how are you going to pay for your care?
All right, Martha Patterson, we're running out on time here. Let's give the contact information again and what people get when they call you.
Okay, my contact information is elderlawmom.com. I should turn off my
You got the phones ringing already.
The phones are ringing already.
elderlawmom.com. elderlawmom.com. But with the phone number, go ahead.
866-452-9657.
And we've got this information in the description, but when they call you, they get
a free consultation. I call it a discovery call to discover whether we're a good fit. I know I'm one of the top attorneys in the state, but we may not be a good fit, so you get a free discovery call, and then you get an extra $500 off of any package you purchase for me.
Okay, the free call, the free consultation, possibly $500 off if you decide to do business with Martha Patterson, elderlawmom.com. I'm Alan Mendelson. Thank you so much for joining us.